Call that a sign of the times. Ben Dery here with the weather.
Yeah, I suppose so. I guess another sign of the times too is check out this picture behind me here. This is a shot from Leavenworth, the Bavarian village on the eastern side of the Cascades, all lit up for the holidays. If this doesn't get you ready for the holiday season, I'm not sure what will. Actually, snow might actually get us in the holiday spirit as well. We're still seeing a couple inches of snowfall up in the mountains since the winter storm died down yesterday. A couple inches at Mount Baker, Stevens Pass with about an inch, and Snoqualmie Pass 3 inches of fresh snowfall. In the lowlands, it's just been rainy, just these dreary showers keeping us on the damp side most of the day. And most of us picking up between a tenth of an inch here, a 1/1500ths of an inch there, and a couple hundredths of an inch of rain down over the South Sound. We still have a couple of lingering showers this evening. However, high pressure is beginning to build off the coast, and as that nudges in for our Sunday, most of these showers should be wrapping up. So tomorrow morning, you might start off with a couple of stray showers, but I'm thinking most of us will dry out by the end of the day. In fact, that's exactly what our Futurecast model is showing us. And notice it's picking up on those north sound showers pretty well. Let's take you into tomorrow morning. Notice it's not completely dry, so we'll probably start off tomorrow morning with a couple of showers lingering, especially over the central sound on the I-90 corridor in King County. But as we head into the afternoon, as that high pressure moves overhead, that sinking motion in the atmosphere should allow us to dry out and might even see a couple of sun breaks before the day is through. Heading into the new work week on Monday, most of us will be dry, but there's a weak warm front that'll be clipping along the coast, the north coast, including Nia Bay, the Forks area, and maybe down towards Grays Harbor. Maybe a couple of stray showers as we start off our work week. In the meantime, the snow level will be dropping at least tomorrow down to about 1,000 feet, but then gradually rising as we head into the work week. And if you are planning on traveling over the Cascades later this upcoming work week, I'm talking Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, that's our next storm system that'll be moving through. And notice it does reach down to Stevens and Snoqualmie Pass. So if you are traveling over the Cascades, pay attention to the forecast Thursday and Friday. Things might get a little snowy up in the mountains. In the meantime, here's tomorrow's forecast. Cloudy with a stray shower to start off the day, but notice we will see some partial sunshine in the afternoon with high temperatures only in the lower 40s. So cooler than what we saw today, but that's about as cool as our forecast gets. Back in the mid 40s by Monday, dry on Tuesday with increasing rain chances and even some breezy conditions towards the second half of the work week.